Hi, and welcome to the Flute Talk podcast, where we talk about all things flute, live here on Patreon. What is Patreon? Patreon is a place for fans like you to come and support creators like us. For as little as $2 a month, you can join in on this live show once a month. Plus, we'll send you the popular 5-minute warm-up for Flutists in a Hurry as a gift for being so awesome. Plus, we'll give a shout out to all of our patrons in our podcast. This plus many more perks and tiers await you. So why not join us over on Patreon and help us continue to make great content? The Flute Talk podcast is also brought to you by the Flute Center of New York. The Flute Center of New York has the world's largest selection of flutes. If you need to buy a flute or piccolo, the Flute Center of New York has you covered. With our code TFC at checkout, you can try up to 3 to 4 flutes for up to 10 days, have an extended 18-month warranty, and free shipping worldwide. So be sure to go to the website flutes4sale.com. So that's flute4sale.com. Flutesforsale.com. Just be sure to use that code TFC for all those perks, and a little bit of that does go our way. Another sponsor is, well, ourselves. We have a store. If you haven't noticed yet, we have a store over at store.theflutechannel.com. We have some shirts and posters and things like that over at Teespring. So you can definitely go there and get some merch, posters, whatever you'd like that we have. It will be there. You probably notice it under our videos. If you're interested, be sure to go to store.theflutechannel.com. That helps us out immensely. So yeah, on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Flute Talk podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Emily.
And Misty's down here too as well, if you can see her. Yeah. Yes, there's our little doggy. Okay, so today we're going to talk about musician burnout and also about how we can improve our practicing.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of things have been happening this month. We've had a lot of really good stuff. You've done some just practicings with poem and stuff like that. And you're now slowly preparing for your concerto in May.
In May.
That was just go.
26th, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
May 26th here in Montreal. So that's going to be cool. You're going to be playing a flute concerto by Jacques Etu, which is a Quebec composer here in Canada. And yeah, so just been practicing and stuff like that. And it's really cool. So this is where we come and talk to you guys over at Patreon. If you're watching this after the live show, be sure to check out patreon.com where you can help us produce the show. You can come ask us questions. We'll go in depth with them during the podcast, and also over at the Patreon forum. I don't know what you call it, but over at Patreon.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and this is one of the questions, definitely, which is, I think is from, my goodness, doesn't say the name here, but they'll know who they are. Some time ago, we talked about burnout, or maybe they saw it on another channel. I wonder if you have ever got to a point in your life that you have taken hiatus from the flute. What caused your burnout? How long did your hiatus last? And eventually, did you get back on your feet? What do you want to take that for, and then I'll go second, or what do you think?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
Well, I've never had a burnout per se, but I've had times where I can't play the flute because sometimes I have neck issues and it gets hard. I can play if I have to, if I have a concert, but if I don't have to, I prefer to just heal. Yeah. So he's asking if we ever had it and how we got back to it, or...
Yep,
yeah,
I believe so.
Well, it's a complicated question because everyone's different. Every story is different. But can you put that? Thanks. I would say that maybe you have to figure out what caused that problem in the first place. Was it the flute? Was it maybe the context in which you're playing music or learning music? That's very stressful. Or is flute helping your well-being? And why is that, Maybe that's a first question to ask. And sometimes I think we make decisions that are not necessarily based on what's good for us, but what we've been told was success. And we should ask ourselves, is that what really makes me happy, or is it something that's been sold to me by someone else as happiness and as success? And I think we have to figure out for ourselves what success is, what makes us happy, because we're different. What's one person, like maybe one person would love to go and study abroad, and for another person it would be a nightmare because they're very, very attached to their family, or, you know. So you have to figure out for yourself what's best for you. That would be the first point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to talk a bit? Maybe I'll.
Sure. Yeah, but I think there's two. I see it in two different ways. Hiatus, like first of all, I think hiatus and burnout, to me, are two different things. Hiatus kind of implies that you're actually taking a break for personal reasons, whatever type of reason, and burnout, which is a big word that's being used around a lot in the YouTube world and the creator world and artist world, where you are constantly making things and then eventually you hit either a brick wall or you get so exhausted literally that you can't continue to produce and then stop completely. So those two are kind of different. So I think the first one I'll talk about hiatus. I think hiatus. I think we all kind of had once in a while. Like I know for me that hiatus can be, oh, I'm just going to take maybe a month off, or I'm going to take 2 months off, or I'm going to only practice maybe 2 times a week instead of 4 or 5 times a week. That's sort of like a hiatus because it's giving yourself time to do other things, to better yourself. Also, you can also just take a hiatus and come back after 2 weeks and not play at all. Hiatus is more like a choice.
It can be a vacation. It
Yeah.
can be that you have another project.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean you're not a flutist anymore.
Nope, absolutely not. I think,
And
yeah.
sometimes it's not even a conscious decision. Sometimes you're just, like as a student, of course, I would practice all the time. As an adult, a professional, sometimes I have other stuff, I have less time, and that's
Right.
okay too. And I don't feel stressed about that.
Yeah, so I would say like hiatus really is whether or not you're a student or you're learning on your own and you don't have like if you're in school or not in school, I think they both have that type of. I think you should go about it as hiatus is really nothing negative. It's actually just for you to go and take time off or do something else, like you were saying. And then creator burnout, which is this big thing, and I can only attest to a lot of great YouTube creators out there that are, and psychologists that are doing a lot of studies on this right now because there's a lot of data on it. And I know a lot of flutists practice and practice and practice. Sometimes they practice for 10 years straight and then suddenly their body just stops and they can't do it and they can't play it anymore for that time. But I know I know ways to kind of that I've applied in creating videos and stuff like that, and in flute making and in flute playing. These kind of things can help prevent burnout, which is, don't follow what other people are doing. Follow your own consistency, your own schedule, obviously make goals and stuff like that. I think if you have those types of things, you tend to get less burnout because if you constantly are, we live in the age that we look at our Instagram, we look at people doing things and creating things seamlessly, effortlessly. They're constantly making content. Well, we don't really know that, and plus, it doesn't mean you have to make the exact same amount of content they do, or you know what I mean. So it's really about just being in your own way.
I think there's been a study. I don't know the source exactly, but I've heard about it yesterday. About the amount of time people spend on social media, and their level of feeling satisfied with their lives, and it's the most you spend on it, the less you're satisfied with your life. Because what we show on those platforms is not the 100% truth. Of course, we show the nice stuff. What we're in a society where we want other people to kind of be jealous of us, I guess, and it works. People feel bad about themselves by spending time there.
Yeah. So I think just be sure to just don't get stressed to produce all the time or say to practice all the time. I know there's a lot of people out there showing, you have to practice, 4 to 8 hours or however many hours.
Yeah.
And I think really, if you're practicing on your own, it can be very intimidating, but really set goals for yourself. Try not to get influenced by those people. If you feel that you're getting into a burnout stage, take a little hiatus, and structure your day, how you practice and stuff like that. But when I come back from practice or come back from a hiatus, my practicing tends to be a bit more simpler instead of like complicated stuff like learning pieces or doing more types of advanced types of scales and tone exercises. When I come back, I tend to just play very long tones, and I play very simple like etudes or little things like that, so I can really get back into the ground of things. That's my personal thing that I do that kind of motivates me. And then I also pick something super popular. I like playing something super popular when I come back, like something that's very like not popular like for everybody, but I mean like just popular, something cool and fun to play with, something you like to play with in the past too. Anything like that, like a little thing, not the whole thing, but gets you back into the groove. And then, then after about a week or so, make your goals, do your next, whatever you're getting into. If you're going to be in a wind band or if you have stuff to practice, get that stuff in there. Or if you have excerpts to learn, I think that's a good way. For me, it's always worked that way, and I like that. That way it's less aggressive and less like, sort of like a warm-up run when you're running on a track.
Yeah, for me, I don't do that. If I have to learn something hard and I haven't practiced in a while, I just take it and I start. But I'm patient with myself, though. Like, if my sound's not exactly where it should be, I just think, well, it's normal. I haven't practiced for a little while. It's going to come back,
Yeah.
I don't instantly judge, and I don't identify with that. I know it's just a passing thing, and I don't stress over it. But also, I used to have like a rule that I would have a day a week at least where I don't work. Now it's a bit more difficult to do it lately, but at least I have moments, and I think it's good to set moments that are, even if it's a couple of hours here and there, where you say I don't work during those moments, because you need to just relax as well. But for some people, the flute will be their relaxing time.
Yep. Most of the people we have come across,
some people it will be. But if you're studying and you have a lot of pressure, maybe that won't be it for you. Maybe it won't be a relaxing time anymore, because you associate it with performance and maybe anxiety. And yeah.
I like how you were saying before, just so you just go into it. I think one big helpful thing to have, biggest tool above all things, is having awareness. Having that development of awareness, like not judging, just going through the moments. Like I think a lot of artists at the top, and also people who just play for fun, have that thing and can develop that thing very well. And that way, you can be more efficient, but also you're just aware, so you can just kind of do what you did. Like you can just go right into it if you have to learn something difficult, like a concerto or something.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. I think awareness is probably the number one ingredient.
Sometimes what I do when I have to learn something difficult and I didn't have much time, and I don't have that much time to make sound exercises and scales, and I use the piece I use parts of the pieces. So I'll take a specific part and use it as a sound exercise.
Like a phrase or something, right?
And then take some other little parts and use it as technique exercises. And this way I'm being efficient with my time, because I think sometimes we over practice some things. I've had students who are coming to me and practicing technique exercises for so many hours, and I was doubting the positive impact on their playing. I think sometimes we lose a lot of time. Like I like the idea, like some people think, oh, you have to practice that many hours, and I don't believe that anymore. I used to do that when I was young, like very young, 11, 12. I would even put timers and write down how many hours I've practiced. And then at one point I realized that sometimes I was just punching in, but I wasn't totally aware of what I was doing, and I was even learning mistakes because I was so tired that I was not reading the right notes, or I was not or I was having a bad posture, and it would impact my body, and I still pay the price today.
Sure.
So I think it's about being aware more than the amount of hours. Like, of course, you need a certain amount of hours to become good, but most of all, you need to be aware while you're doing it, and taking breaks is a good thing. Yeah. And you're not going to forget how to play the flute if you go on a 2-week vacation.
No, absolutely.
It's there.
Totally. And segue to the next question, which is kind of right along to that, is by the same person. I wanted to ask how we can practice slash improve consistency. Very often, I find that I can only play with somewhat decent tone for a few bars, then it gets worse. It is rather problematic in a recital because we prefer a consistent level of playing from the first note to the last instead of starting nicely and gradually degrading.
What makes it degrade?
Well, I kind of get the beginning of it. Like, obviously, the tone sounds good for the first at the beginning, and then, let's say, 2-3 systems down, it starts just getting worse. So it's kind of about developing the endurance, maybe?
I don't know. It can be a lot of different things. It could be that maybe the person has a good embouchure at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see a lot is people either cover
Yeah.
while they're playing, the flute turns in. And as it turns in, the sound gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe your flute is turning in while
Yeah.
you're playing.
We learned that in the summer. We learned that in the summer a little bit, that the flute's uneven, right? So it always kind of tends to fall back.
Yeah.
So people kind of think it's their fault, but really the flute's also pulling
The
back. So you
flute
have
is
to constantly
yeah.
think, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why a thumb port can be a good thing, because it helps you hold the flute without it
Yeah,
turning
something,
back all the time. Or maybe it's the angle of your head joint with
Mhm.
the body that is at play here. Maybe if you put it a bit more inwards and then your hands are a bit more outwards,
Yeah.
then the rods are more on the top of the flute. It might
Mhm.
help with the stability of your instrument instead of it turning in all the time. I would that if you came to me as a student, that's the first thing I would look at. If the flute is turning in, and how to deal with that. And then sometimes I also see people who play straight and then they start moving their hands down. So the angle of the flute is straight and then it starts to be completely out of alignment with the mouth.
Mm.
And then the sound gets, I see that
You see
in
that a lot.
students.
Yeah.
Their arms get tired. So that too, you have to figure out how to be comfortable so you don't have to do that. Or you
Yeah.
tilt your head, because you have to keep the angle of the head
Yeah.
joint with the
No,
mouth.
yeah.
You know, has to be stable.
Yeah, that can be something for sure.
If not, it could be a support thing. Maybe she supports better in the beginning and then gets tired.
Mm-hmm.
That could be it too.
Yeah.
That would be, but the flute turning in would be my first guess.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even also during practice, excuse me, even during practice, maybe mark those places where you're finding that your tone is degrading, and then next time you practice there immediately. That way you can kind of get a feeling of what it's supposed to be like at that point. That way when you go back,
Yeah.
you might have better chances to recover.
It's very smart to practice, not always starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning
Sure.
of a practice, you're more focused, and then with time, you're less focused. So you don't want to have a concert where you really know the beginning, and at the end, you don't know it. So when I learn a piece, sometimes I don't always start from the beginning when I'm practicing.
Yeah, and like you said, in a recital, it's worse, of course. Yeah, but I think prevention is the key. You know, practicing plenty of times beforehand in front of people too, so you can see even when you're in public what happens. You know, things.
But what I
happen.
hear is that it doesn't happen only in performance. It happens all the time.
I know. Yeah.
So you
Right.
could also just practice in front of a mirror and check your alignment.
Yes. No, like you
You
were
could
saying.
also film yourself and then look at yourself. Like, it's
Yes.
even better in a way, because while you're playing, you're focused on two things, playing and looking at yourself, which is also good because you can do adjustments on the spot and then be like, oh, that worked. Oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you're right.
also
Recording.
filming yourself, you have 100% attention, as if like a teacher looking at you and trying to figure out what's the issue. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it
But
could be that.
yeah.
I think you're right. Like
Because
recording,
it doesn't
you don't need to
seem
record
like
much.
it's anxiety that brings that on. It
I don't
seems
think
like
so
it's
either.
a technical thing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's that around that, and filming yourself can definitely. You can only need just film yourself for 20 seconds, and you can get a pretty good understanding of what is going on in regarding to your body and the flute in
Or
your
as
hands.
long, like, you film yourself until the sound goes away, at least.
Yeah, at
So
least.
you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see the problem
The problem
happening.
side. Yeah, that's what I
And
mean.
then
Yeah, where
it
the
might be
spots
very obvious. But
Maybe.
we don't see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why teachers are helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if it's obvious from an outside perspective, sometimes it's not obvious when you're in the situation.
Yeah, it's really beneficial especially when you're an amateur and you're learning on your own. And if you're an adult or even a kid learning on their own, eventually there is a threshold that you should be seeing a teacher, not once a week, but maybe once in a while. So you can have, if you can't afford it or if you can't, whatever reason, so they can get an extra perspective, trained perspective rather. And that's really helpful for a student to really kind of even jump a level really quickly, so.
But even as a teacher, I feel that if my student hasn't understood really, like felt it, my job is to make them aware of the problem. Like if they don't, if they're not aware that that thing is happening,
that makes sense.
There's not going to be any difference. I can tell them, but I have to make sure they feel it, you know?
Sure, of course.
But yeah, so I would still use those types of things like practicing in front of a mirror and things like that because I can tell you, oh, your head joint is rolling in, your flute is rolling in, but if you don't feel it,
Yeah, there's definitely a tool set, using the mirror, using camera, using a recorder to just monitor the sound. There's so many different things you can use.
I used to record myself a lot just for phrasing, and it's amazing how much you learn by listening to yourself.
I used to have the tape recorder, press record, plus play in the big tape deck, on a crappy little recorder, on a crappy little microphone, and I was still able to hear what's going on.
Because you hear a lot of the phrasing things,
much,
you hear the vibrato, you hear a lot of different things that...
Yeah, and nowadays we just have so much clarity in our recordings that we can
even on
anything.
Phone,
yeah, that's what I mean, on a phone.
Pretty good. Just you have to put it a bit further with the flute. You don't put it too close.
Yeah, a few feet away. Yeah, at least. Again, so yeah, that's those are a lot of things. Like I know like you like practicing from the end of a piece first. Like sometimes you like practicing the ending, so that the ending's strong. And
I
stuff like that.
Also, I try to figure out where are the tough spots.
Of course.
And then I practice them more because, like, I want to be efficient. You don't need to practice the whole thing all the time, but some parts are going to be more difficult, and then you can use those as a technical exercise.
Yes.
Or you can just focus on them. And what I do sometimes, like yesterday, I was practicing tough spot in my concerto, and I thought, okay, that tough spot, I'm gonna practice for a minute. I didn't put a timer, but I know approximately what a minute is. But sometimes I did that with a student. I remember a student who couldn't get a specific part of her piece, and I said, practice it, put a timer, because we think a minute is that short, but in fact it's pretty long. If you're playing just a short part of a piece, you can play it a lot in 1 minute. So I said, put a timer for, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes, I don't remember, every day until your next lesson. She had a lesson every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I said, just practice that let's say 2 minutes a day. And when she came back the next time, it was taken care of. And she was like, that's incredible. Yeah, because that's the toughest part. You don't need to practice. She would practice the whole piece from beginning till the end all the time. But you don't need to do that. No. It's
overkill.
It's about really figuring out where are those little spots and repeating them until they get easy. Because like in that concerto, in the second movement, it's pretty slow all the time, but then you have this super fast.
Of course.
You have to learn it so you can do it seamlessly.
Of course. Yeah. So yeah, those are all of our questions for this week's or this month's Flute Talk podcast. We do this every month. You can join us over on patreon.com and help us produce by donating as little as $2 a month, and that helps us produce this show and all the other things that we make on the Flute Channel's YouTube page. You can donate more if you wish, and you can stop at any time, so that's pretty cool. Also, if you want lessons with Emily or me as well, if you want, you can definitely check us out and email us at info@theflutechannel.com. We have an online flute studio where you can learn online with Emily. There's already got pretty decent full studio, like not full, but I mean there's people in it, so it's full to the definition, I guess. And there's also the store, which you can go and check out at store.theflutechannel.com, where you can buy our poster, which is pretty popular. It's our flute scale poster, which is pretty big and pretty awesome. Mugs, shirts, hats. We got a new hat that's coming out, that's coming here soon, so we'll be having that, and a couple new shirts. Check that out. Like I said, store.theflutechannel.com. Also, if you're looking for a flute, be sure to check out the Flute Center of New York at flutes for sale, the number 4, .com, flutesforsale.com, and you can definitely check out there and use our code TFC at checkout, or you can also call them and tell them about that you got referenced by us, and you can try up to 3 to 4 flutes for up to 10 days. If you choose a flute, you can have an extended warranty on it of 18 months instead of the traditional 12. And yeah, we get a little commission from each one of those, and those help us directly to the channel as well, which is pretty awesome. They have the world's largest selection of flutes, and you can definitely try any flute you want, there. They have almost every single one. They're all flutists there, so you can even call them, and the deal works worldwide, so definitely check it out. And then also, if you want to join us for our convention event, which will be in August, join our newsletter and our mailing list at flutecon.com. So flutecon.com. And that'll be a one-day event that we'll be doing masterclasses online. It's the first ever flute online convention, which is going to be pretty sweet. We're going to be rolling out information about that and early bird specials and stuff like that within the next month or two. And then we also have, what else do we have? We have other little news, I think. We will be in May. We'll be in Nashville doing a presentation there for PodX. So it's a podcast convention in Nashville. So that'll be May 31st to June 2nd. If you guys are in the Nashville area or, that surrounding area, let us know. Talk to us down in the comments, and we'll be making more mentions about this in other videos, but we'll be there, so be sure to say hello if you're around. We might do a meetup, and we'll be at VidCon, which we're going to just be hanging around and doing stuff there in July, which is July 10th to the 14th, I think. So if you're in Anaheim or in California, let us know. Let us do some hangouts all over. We're gonna be with a car and going around and doing stuff, which is pretty sweet. And did I forget anything else?
Well, maybe the concerto if people are around.
Yeah, if you're around, that's also happening too.
May 26th.
May 26th, yes.
In Montreal at Club Soda with Orchestre 21.
Yeah.
It's Orchestre 21.
Yeah, Orchestra 21.
So
just check out Club Soda's website or check out Orchestra 21 on Facebook and get more information about that. And it's going to be like a concerto night almost. There's going to be 2 concertos, a piano concerto, a flute concerto, Hindemith's Mathis de Mahler.
And you'll play that.
Yeah, I'll be in the orchestra there. There's no solos in that one, really. It's actually Symphonic Metamorphosis, the geek in me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm completely wrong. But it's a great piece, though. It's one of my favorite pieces, Mathis de Mahler. And Symphonic Metamorphosis, but no notable solos in there, but it's a gigantic piece, and it's very, very beautiful. It's by Hindemith. That's going to be cool, and there's another piece, too, I think. There's 4 pieces, I think. So, yeah, we have all of those things going on. Like I said, our next podcast will be the last Sunday of April, and by then it'll be much warmer here and stuff like that. And, yeah, stay tuned for another one, and be sure to go to our Patreon as well. So, thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.